Hey there, this is Taylor Ursula with That's So Pisces, and we have an electric third quarter moon in Taurus upon us. So let's check it out. All right, so if you are familiar with traditional astrology, the moon loves Taurus. The moon feels cozy in Taurus, and some of these reasons are because the moon is able to nurture and nourish its emotions through tangible goods, through tangible means, through tangible nourishment. So there's something very comforting to Taurus about the moon. Now, this third quarter moon in Taurus will not be any of those things that I just described. And let's get into why. So, the biggest signature to talk about in this third quarter moon in Taurus is that it's being ruled by Venus, who is not only currently retrograde, but also about to square Uranus. This lunation in Taurus, this third quarter moon, will also be conjunct Uranus. So, there is a lot of unexpected energy coming through this moon. Now, this third quarter moon may already be something that's kind of building up in your mind subconsciously. The third quarter moon is about release. Venus is currently retrograde, as well as ruling the South Node now, which is currently moving through Libra. So there's a lot on Venus's mind around reframing, releasing, recycling, all of those fun re-words that we love. Venus is steeped in that right now. Venus is thinking about what she's been enduring in the heat of Leo. Leo is a very hot and dry sign. Venus likes things a little more moist, a little more fertile. And so while Venus is retrograde in Leo, she's certainly thinking about what it is that she can endure in that heat while still making the connections to the people and the resources that she desires. In this, there may be some sense of sudden realization in this third quarter moon, given the Uranus element. We may be suddenly done with something. We may be suddenly over something. We may be revisiting the themes of the first Venus-Uranus pass, which happened before Venus stationed retrograde. This square first happened at the beginning of July. So it's been a hot minute since we had those themes showing up for us. You may be compelled to revisit what was coming up at that first Venus-Uranus square at that 4th of July weekend to get a sense of what's going to be revisited as Venus re-enters this square, now retrograde. Keep in mind, this is the second of 3 squares. Venus will make this square again once she has stationed direct and is moving through this retrograde shadow. So keep track of these themes. Keep track of what's been coming up. What happened at that first square may be revisited or may come up again or may further along in its narrative, whatever that looks like for you. With the moon conjunct Uranus and Venus coming into square Uranus and the moon squaring Venus, there's a whole lot of conversation happening around what's being stirred up. There's a whole lot of communicating about what's going on. The moon is connecting us to each other. And so the moon's conversations, as well as what Venus stirs up, are absolutely kind of fodder for chatter, if you will. So what we decide at this time won't be silent, is what I'm guessing. There will probably be some kind of something expressed. Something is emerging, something is surfacing, and the moon is talking all about it. So things to keep in mind. Let's go ahead and take a look at what the lunation story has been. We'll revisit all of the cards that we've pulled for this cycle, and then we'll see how we're ending and what we are releasing at this time. Hey, this is a pretty loaded narrative. If you have not seen these other videos, go ahead, check them out now, sending you over. Check those all out, get an idea of where we're landing in this third quarter moon, and then we'll meet you back here. Okay, let's get started. As we inquire about this third quarter moon, we are looking at what is coming to a close now. We're thinking about what our previous attachments to whatever is ending has been. We're getting a sense of how we can make meaning from this process. And we are asking about what we are able to invite in at this time. So, we've got some more jumpers. Okay, we've got the World, the Five of Pentacles, the Seven of Wands. Interesting. Let's see if they show up later. All right. We've had a few cards jump out this overall lunation cycle. There's a lot going on, especially with all the Uranus involved. Okay, let's see what we got here. Oh, well, someone needed to be here. Let's go ahead and include them. Okay. All right, well, something needed to jump out at us, so this is what's coming to a close now. Oh! Ooh, I mentioned that Venus ruling this third quarter moon was not only going to square Uranus, but is also ruling over the South Node right now in Libra. I love thinking about that whatever Venus is asking us to let go of at this third quarter moon may be totally unrelated to what's happening with the South Node, because Taurus and Libra are signs that do not see each other. They are in conjunct, and so they are obviously connected through Venus, but we may not see how these things actually line up. So I love seeing that what's being asked to be released now is the Seven of Swords. Okay. Is this imposter syndrome? Are you convinced that you are not capable of what you actually are? We've had a long narrative of this showing up. We started off the Cancer new moon pull with the Sun and the Queen of Wands. And the Queen of Wands was showing us some doubts around what we were experiencing coming in at that first quarter moon. So I will correct myself right now. At the Cancer new moon, we had the Sun arrive. At the Scorpio first quarter moon, we had the Four of Cups and the Queen of Wands show up. And that was showing us that we were uncertain that we could make things happen, that we had the connection to the ether that we needed, that we had the inspiration, as well as the just like being able to contain all of that energy to make things happen. And we talked a little bit about how we needed to give ourselves the benefit of the doubt that we could have that 10 of Pentacles at the end if we believed it, and that we certainly wouldn't get to it if we were selling ourselves short by not believing it was possible. So bringing us up to the Seven of Swords, which is telling us that we may be convinced that we are not who we actually are. The Seven of Swords could also be telling us where we are maybe trying to get away with something. Maybe we are caught up in a lie that is meant to serve our progress. Maybe we are involved in someone else who is lying and we're caught up in their lie. Venus square Uranus will certainly reveal. Venus is our relationship planet. It is our values. And so it may be that we become aware of something suddenly, whether it's within ourselves or it's outside of ourselves, whether it's, I think imposter syndrome is maybe the other side of the coin of taking what isn't ours. We think that we aren't entitled. We think that we're entitled to something that is not for us. Seven of Swords is gonna be, you'll know. I trust that you'll know what that means and what that looks like for you. My previous attachment to what is ending now? Ooh, well, oh my, okay, well, we may have, I love these sevens together. We may be seeing what we are watching accumulate from this place of the seven, but whatever is accumulating is not actually ours, whether we're doing so from a place of, I'll use this phrase again, selling ourselves short. If we are not walking the talk, or if we are preventing ourselves from walking the talk, if we are otherwise walking a talk we're not talking, are you confused yet? This may be showing us where we are really attached to whatever's growing. If we are getting away with something that isn't meant for us, we are attached to it because we like the way it looks. If we are not showing up as ourselves and we are underperforming, then we may be attached to the comfort of what, being able to limit what grows there. I'm scared of what's growing. And so I'm comfortable just being in this assessment stage where I'm not actually finalizing anything. In the Eight of Pentacles is where we systemize things. We're like, oh, I like how this is going, and so I'm going to repeat it. We might actually be comfortable here saying, I don't want to do more because I'm scared that I can't do it, and therefore I'm attached to being in this place of just progress, but not actually committing to the progress. Okay. I'm seeing all that Libra South Node show up here. Oh, okay. Sticky, but good, So, okay, how we can make meaning from this process as the humans that we are. I love the devil. If you've been here, I love the devil, and Okay, so, Isn't this just a narrative that makes so much sense? We've got the Seven of Swords telling us that we are showing up falsely in some way, whether it's underselling ourselves, whether it's overselling ourselves. We've got the Seven of Pentacles telling us that we like what we're seeing, though, and the tangibility of that is making cutting ties with the mentality of that very difficult. The devil is asking us to look at this and to understand why, and really to get a sense of what is bigger than us that is holding us to this. What are we feeling connected to within the bigger system, within the way things are, within the structure of capitalism, perhaps, that is, because we're all in it, that is keeping us bound to this story? Why do we want something that isn't really ours to have? Again, whether it's something that we're taking that isn't meant for us or something that's less than what we're capable of. Why are we doing that? Why do we see ourselves that way? Why do we see the need to do this? This is a really pervasive narrative that most of us who even go into this work spend their whole lives trying to unpack. Separating from capitalism or from the problematic structures that we live in is not a job we can do fully because we still live under it. And so as long as we're living under the roof of capitalism, we are asked to play by its rules, okay? And those rules will absolutely put us in some really twisted places where we have to present ourselves as things we are not just to get fed, where we feel smaller than we are because the system tells us that we are. This is absolutely a narrative that will be something personal for you, but that will absolutely weave into the broader narrative. And we are being asked to create meaning from this process by zooming out and thinking about the system that we live in and where we are still bound to it. We are always doing the work of separating ourselves, but again, this is a lifetime and then some of work. And so, of course, we don't fully know until we fully dive in. Of course, we have to work with this cyclically and think about, okay, what's happening socially, collectively right now that is triggering my attachment to this process right now? And what can I do to separate myself from it? Again, we cannot fully live off the grid unless we sacrifice pretty much everything. And then, even then, what does that actually look like? So if I'm still going to be here, if I'm still part of this, what part of me is showing up falsely in some capacity, and where is that actually revealing to me the next round of work that I'm doing to get clear on this? Ooh, okay. And then what we're inviting in at this time, oh, wow, okay, that's really cute. That's a really, really, really cute way to end this, because this is a bit grueling, right? And the work of self-awareness within capitalism is pretty unrewarding. We don't get any cookies or any prizes for recognizing where capitalism has made us into people we don't necessarily like being. That is only for us to validate. So this work is not the most inviting, okay? I am here doing it too. All right. So know that you're not alone. So it is really beautiful to end on a note of inviting in what we think abundance actually looks like for ourselves. The Nine of Pentacles has Venus and Virgo vibes. It means that we are the ones working for what we have. And society doesn't love that because society wants Venus to just be beautiful and likable, South Node in Libra, and to just receive from society passively for having those traits. And none of us can really control how beautiful or likable we are. We think we can. The devil makes us think we can. The devil makes us think that we can change all these things in order to be Venusian the way that traditional society has asked of us. And yet, by separating from those ideals, we actually invite in the space to get clear on what abundance looks like for us. Let's remember that in this same position, I believe in our full moon, correct me though if I'm wrong, we had the Ten of Pentacles here, and we were talking about how we maybe were feeling a little disconnected from our ability to deserve happiness. And we discussed how it was important to actually believe that it's possible to even create the avenues to begin getting there. Remembering that we're not fully responsible for creating the 10 because the 10 is shared. The 9 is not shared. And I love that. I love that we can get clear on what abundance would look like for ourselves outside of whatever false notions we've been dealing with here. We may be comparing ourselves to other people and going after what they have because we think that's what happiness looks like for us, when in reality, if we do this introspection and we separate some of those chains to what society has informed us makes us happy, then we get clear on what this really looks like. What do I feel capable of working toward that could provide for me some kind of return? And what is that return outside of this lens? If I separate from whatever falseness I'm embodying currently and the attachment to whatever it is bringing to fruition that is actually not mine to enjoy, I realize what I can enjoy. What is mine to enjoy? What do I want this field to look like? What do I want these flowers to represent? And lastly, what work am I able to do to make this happen? It doesn't need to be labor, but it does need to be something that you can show up as truthfully as you, and not something else you think you should be wanting, because the devil is having a ball watching you do this and knowing that it's keeping you from this. So face that devil, all right? My goodness. Okay. Let me know how this lands for you in the comments. I am so curious to hear what this brings up for you. If you enjoyed this, please like it, please share it, please subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. We have a potent Leo new moon coming in. So let's get a look at what that's got in store for us. See you next week.